The Longyou Caves, China's most mysterious underground wonder. What could a farmer uncover that would leave scientists scratching their heads for decades? In 1992, a farmer in Longyou County, Zhejiang Province, made a decision that left scientists in a puzzle. He wanted to drain a pond on his land. It was a simple plan. Pump out the water, see what was at the bottom, maybe find some fish or old pottery. Nobody expected what he actually found. As the water level dropped, something that left jaws dropping for decades emerged. Carved stone walls, pillars, and a massive underground chamber that nobody knew existed came to sight. The farmer had stumbled upon one of the greatest archaeological mysteries in China, and possibly the world. And the strangest part? Nobody had any idea it was there. Soon other ponds in the area were drained. Each one revealed the same thing. Enormous caves hand-carved into solid siltstone, hidden beneath the water for who knows how long. 24 caves were discovered in total, though only a few have been fully explored. They weren't natural formations. Every inch was carved by human hands. The walls were smooth, the angles precise, the pillars evenly spaced. Someone had spent years, maybe decades, creating these underground halls. But who were the people that could have been so meticulous? And why? There are no records or even ancient texts that talked about them. No maps could show or point out their location. No local legends knew about the discovery, let alone talked about their construction. It's as if someone built a massive underground city and then erased every trace of its existence from history. That's not supposed to happen. Civilizations leave records. They write things down. They pass stories to the next generation. But whoever built the Longyou Caves left nothing behind. Just empty chambers to be discovered and figured. The first question archaeologists asked was simple. How old are these caves? If they could figure out when they were built, they might be able to figure out who built them. But dating the caves turned out to be harder than expected. The stone itself can't be dated using normal methods. Carbon dating only works on organic materials like wood or bone, and there wasn't much of that inside the caves. The few artifacts found suggested the caves might be around 2,000 years old, possibly from the Han Dynasty or earlier. But that's just a guess. Without written records or more concrete evidence, nobody knows for sure. What makes the mystery even deeper is the sheer scale of the project. These aren't small caves. The largest one, known as Cave 1, covers about 2,000 square meters. That's roughly the size of half a football field. And it's not a shallow pit. The ceiling rises up to 30 meters high in some places. That's as tall as a 10-story building. Now imagine carving all of that by hand, underground, in near total darkness. The amount of stone removed from these caves is estimated at nearly 1 million cubic meters. That's an unbelievable amount of rock. Where did it all go? If you dig out that much material, you create mountains of debris. But there's no sign of it. There were no massive piles of stone near the caves. Neither were there any ancient quarries filled with leftover siltstone. The builders somehow removed all that rock and made it disappear without a trace. It's like they were trying to hide what they were doing. The precision of the carving is what really baffles experts. The walls aren't rough or uneven. They're smooth and deliberate. The pillars that support the ceiling are uniform in size and placement. The angles are consistent throughout. Apparently, this wasn't random digging. It was a carefully planned design. They had a design in mind and followed it down to the ladder. But how did they do it without modern tools? No evidence of metal tools has been found. If they used primitive chisels and hammers, the work would have taken an enormous amount of time and labor. Some researchers have tried to calculate how long it would take to carve just one cave. If a team of workers labored every day using basic tools, it might take decades to finish a single chamber. Multiply that by 24 caves, and you're looking at centuries of continuous work. That raises another question. Why would anyone dedicate that much effort to a project and then not tell anyone about it? Structures this large are usually meant to be seen. Temples, palaces, tombs, they're all designed for display and for show of pride. But the Longyou Caves were hidden underwater, sealed off from the world. One theory is that they were built as a massive tomb, complex for an emperor or powerful ruler. Ancient China had a long tradition of elaborate burials. The terracotta army, built for Emperor Qin Shi Huang, is proof of how much effort and resources went into royal tombs. Maybe the Longyou Caves were meant to serve a similar purpose. But if that's true, why is there no evidence of burials? No coffins, no bones, no grave goods. The caves are empty. If they were tombs, they were never used. Another theory suggests they were used for storage. Perhaps they were grain warehouses or military supply depots. Ancient governments needed secure places to store food and weapons, especially during times of war. Underground chambers would provide protection from weather, fire, and invaders. But again, there's a problem. If these were storage facilities, why are they so elaborate? Why carve decorative patterns on the walls and ceiling? Why make the pillars so uniform and aesthetically pleasing? Storage rooms don't need to look good, they just need to be functional. Some believe the caves were part of a religious or spiritual site. Maybe they were temples dedicated to gods or ancestors. Ancient cultures often built sacred spaces underground, seeing them as connections to the underworld or the afterlife. The symmetry and precision of the caves might reflect spiritual beliefs about order and harmony. But once again, there's no evidence. No altars, no religious symbols, no inscriptions. If these were temples, the worshippers left nothing behind to indicate what they believed or who they prayed to. Then there's the most practical theory. Maybe the caves were simply stone quarries. Perhaps workers carved out the rock to use for building projects elsewhere. The siltstone in the area is soft and easy to carve when wet, making it a good material for construction. But this theory also has weaknesses. If they were quarries, why make them so neat and organized? Quarries are messy. Workers dig out what they need and move on. They don't spend time creating perfectly spaced pillars and smooth walls. And once again, where did all the stones go? There's no evidence of ancient buildings in the area made from this specific type of rock. One of the most puzzling features of the caves is the intricate patterns carved into the walls and ceilings. These aren't simple scratches or random marks. They're deliberate designs repeating across different caves. Some look like fish scales, others resemble birds or animals. The patterns are consistent, suggesting they had symbolic meaning. But what did they represent? Without any written records or cultural context, it's impossible to say. The carvings might have been decorative, or they might have told a story. They could have been religious symbols or clan markings. But all of that is speculation. What's even stranger is that the caves show signs of advanced planning. The builders clearly understood engineering principles. They knew how to distribute weight, how to support a massive ceiling, how to prevent collapses. The pillars aren't randomly placed. They're positioned at exact intervals to bear the load of the rock above. This kind of knowledge doesn't come from trial and error. It comes from experience and training. Whoever designed these caves had serious expertise in construction and architecture. Modern engineers who have studied the caves are impressed by their stability. Despite being thousands of years old, the structures remain intact. There are no signs of major collapses or structural failures. The rock has weathered over time, but the basic design has held up. That's not easy to achieve, especially with hand tools and no modern materials. It shows that the builders weren't just laborers. They were skilled craftsmen and engineers. But if they had that level of skill, why isn't there any mention of them in historical records? Ancient China was meticulous about documentation. Dynasties kept detailed records of construction projects, military campaigns, and important events. Major projects like the Great Wall and the Grand Canal were well documented. But the Longyou Caves, nothing. It's as if the entire project was classified, kept secret for reasons we can't understand. Some researchers have suggested that the caves might have been built during a time of political instability. If a ruler or warlord wanted to create a hidden stronghold, they might have ordered the construction in secret. Workers could have been sworn to secrecy, or even killed after the project was completed to prevent information from leaking. It sounds extreme, but it's not unheard of in history. Rulers have gone to great lengths to protect their secrets. Another possibility is that the caves were built by a forgotten civilization or group that didn't leave written records. Not all ancient cultures had writing systems. Some relied on oral traditions to pass down knowledge. If the builders of the Longyou Caves belonged to such a group, their story might have been lost when their culture disappeared. But even that doesn't fully explain the mystery. Oral traditions usually survive in some form, especially for something as significant as this. The local population offers little help. People in the area have lived near the ponds for generations, but they had no idea what was beneath them. The caves were completely flooded, sealed off by water for centuries, maybe even millennia. It's possible that knowledge of the caves was lost during a war, famine, or natural disaster that displaced the population. Or maybe the builders deliberately flooded the caves to hide them. Without more evidence, it's impossible to say. In recent years, the Chinese government has opened some of the caves to tourists. Visitors can walk through the massive chambers, touch the carved walls, and marvel at the scale of the construction. It's an eerie experience. The caves are cool and damp, lit by modern lights that cast shadows on the ancient stone. Standing inside, you can't help but feel the weight of history pressing down. Somewhere in time, people just like us stood in this same spot, carving rock, building something extraordinary. But we don't know who they were or what they were thinking. Scientists continue to study the caves using modern technology to search for clues. Ground-penetrating radar has been used to look for hidden chambers or artifacts. Geologists have analyzed the rock to understand how it was carved. Archaeologists have combed through the caves looking for any trace of tools, pottery, or human remains. But so far, the caves have revealed very little. It's as if the builders intentionally left nothing behind, creating a mystery that would endure for thousands of years. Some people love this kind of mystery. They see it as proof that ancient civilizations were more advanced than we give them credit for. Others find it frustrating. How can something this big, this impressive, leave no trace in history? How can 1,000,000 cubic meters of stone just vanish? How can thousands of workers spend decades carving caves and nobody writes it down? The truth is, we may never know the full story, and maybe that's what makes it fascinating. Do you find this fascinating as well? What are your thoughts regarding this? Kindly share with us in the comments. We'd like to know. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. We'll see you in the next video.